Bing, and we're live. It is the Agile Ventures. I kind of want to call it the general meeting. General meeting sounds in the UK like annual general meeting that you do. It's the weekly meeting because we're doing it weekly, and it's the general thing because there's I don't know. There we go. And I'm your host this week. David and Pravina are here. How are things going with you guys?
Very well, thanks.
Good show. And David?
Not bad. Yeah, trying to put in some time learning, and also, yeah, I popped into CS 169 a few times this week, and I popped into the Stack Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Not seeing much activity there, and I'm wondering if the homework's too easy, or if the students are quieter this year, or what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have, according to my stats, something like about 9,000 students in there. So it's not as busy as it is in the summer, but it's you know, I mean, there's students in there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's also, I don't know. I mean, partly we've also got the chat, we've got the Gitter chat is there, and there's some activity. I don't know if you spent any time there. There's been some activity there. The Stack Exchange is also kind of weird in the way that it kind of like randomly throws up like these community questions. I think I saw you commenting on somebody's. I wish we could turn that off. It doesn't. I can see why they sort of. I can see the motivation behind it, but anyway.
Well, I can send you a link. Found out pretty much. I think somebody else posted what we can do about them, and that is just vote on the answers. So as long as the answers are sensible, we can vote on them.
Right, but isn't it only the person who has originally posted the question can approve the answers or something?
Only the person who posted the question can accept an answer, but everybody else can and should vote on them, and I think it's voting that.
Oh, okay. Right. And Rose is here as well. Hey, Rose.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, sort of.
No, as you were saying, you're having hardware problems today, so.
Yes, well, that and I'm kind of ill, so.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. It sucks. I'm just looking at the other people who are online and pinging them to remind them that the weekly meeting is happening. Give me a second to do that, and I will. Then we'll kind of get going. I guess we could do introductions. Rose and David, do you know each other already from Slack and stuff?
Is this David Corking? Is this David Corking? What? David, what's your?
It is David Corking, and I think he's muted. I may not realize it. But indeed it is David Corking.
Yeah, I muted myself to save bandwidth, yes.
Oh, hi.
Rose.
How are you?
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, I tried to speak to you, but it was probably the middle of the night when I saw you online on Slack, so you might not have actually been at your keyboard.
Yeah, I saw it afterwards. I was kind of back and forth, with like laundry and doing work. Yeah, it was late.
So yes, you're in Pacific time, aren't you? So.
No, Eastern Standard.
Oh, Eastern Standard. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually up quite late last night.
Yeah, it's pretty late. Yeah.
And have either of you met Pravina before?
No. Hi.
Pravina's doing the 169 course, and she came into the Euro Asia Scrum this morning, and we had a chat.
I have to get this phone call. See you guys.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
And I think, Pravina, are you based in South Africa? Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Rose is based in. Are you in upstate New York in the U.S., Rose? Is that right?
Yeah, actually, I mean, we call it upstate. I'm only like 5 miles from the Pennsylvania border.
Okay.
It's also called the southern tier of New York.
Right. Aha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm here in London in the Makers Academy offices, and so I think I've pinged all of the other Agile Venture members who are online. I've had apologies come in from Chris and Brian, who both have other commitments, and will be catching up, watching on the the video recording. But so well, I guess we'll kick off. My plan for this evening, I guess, had kind of been to give a review of the local support projects. David's very familiar with that, but I think probably Pravina and Rose, you're not so familiar with the local support project and will be relatively interested if I give you a little overview of
Absolutely.
how that started.
I'd be very, very interested.
Okay. Oh well, that's great. Well, let's do that. And we're already recording, so it's all underway. What I'm going to do is I'll go over to share my my screen, and I am. But what's up? You?
Oh well, I was just going to wonder if have you got like.
Sorry about that, guys. Just somebody could check it out. We've had Gilhelm has joined us as well. Hey, Gilhelm. Great to have you with us. Is this your first Scrum weekly meeting, etc.? I think you're muted at the moment, so we can't hear you. I wonder if I can unmute you. I've unmuted you. Hey, Gilhelm, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good.
I'm Brazilian. This is the first hangout, yes.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, welcome.
I'm not familiar with the tool. I'm sorry. I'm just curious about how it flows, how it works.
Sure, absolutely. You're in exactly the right place. Yes, welcome, welcome. So glad you can hear us and we can hear you. My name's Sam Joseph. I'm one of the co-founders of Agile Ventures, and you may know me from the MOOC and other things. We've got Rose, a colleague of mine, joining us from New York, Pravina from South Africa, and David somewhere up in the northern wilds of the UK. So I was just, well, I was interrupted there, I was just about to get started giving an overview of the local support project, which is the longest running Agile Ventures project. And David and I know lots about it, but it seems like, yeah, it's a reasonable thing to present to you guys. And I'll do that, and I'll try not to make that too long, and then we can have a general discussion about Agile Ventures. But so here we are on the Agile Ventures site, and we've got our projects page, which is a bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment. I believe Chris Milne is doing a redesign of that so that we can see projects by activity. Local support here down at the bottom is Mario there. I'll say yes, but being recorded. Trying not to get too distracted. So originally, I wonder if I can find the site. We used to have Agile Ventures all existed in, now which was it, so if I can find the site. It existed a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Now where is it? Oh yes, Agile Ventures. This was the original Agile Ventures. You can see it had the logo there eventually. And it was in there, we had our projects in here, and this, before there was ever this fancy orange website, there was the Google site. And I think there was a period actually where this agileadventures.org actually pointed to here, and we, managed everything through the wikis and so on. And I believe, did we have the client, if I'm just trying to go back to, we've got the client meetings in here. There we go. Yeah, so this goes back to the very, very start. So you can actually see here, and I'll post this link into the...
Sorry, I'm in a meeting.
Meet Rose there. And so I'll just post this into the chat there. But so basically back about, is it now 2, is it even 3 years ago now, I was taking the 169 MOOC, and I was saying, gosh, I think this is going to be a really exciting MOOC because it's going to have these kind of project working with nonprofits like Dave and Armando have at their UC Berkeley class. And I was deeply disappointed when I found out that was not the case, because I thought that that project component of the 169 class was just a fantastic thing. And I'd sort of set up a Skype chat room where I was chatting with other students taking the MOOC. And you can see here the original email that I sent to a local charity, saying, look, we're a group of students taking the course organized by Berkeley University through edX Online. This would be a great opportunity to help a nonprofit organization like yours, there. And you can actually see here the responses that I got from the organization, the follow-up. I've actually got here links to, you can actually listen to the recording of the very first meeting The first few meetings are audio only. As time goes on, if we look back at the client meetings over here, you can see this is like over the course of this is so since September 2013. So this is, what are we now? Is it 2014? That seems like, is it? Oh, okay. I think that's been edited. Right. I think actually it was September. I think that's what it's been. Just because I looked at it there, it was updated. It was actually 2012, the September of that I first started talking to them. And you can see here actually then. I don't think these dates here necessarily correspond to when I was meeting them. Anyway. But as time went on, we started moving over to here we've got the recording of the meeting. So you can see, for example, here this is the notes of meeting 10, and we've got the video of the meeting at the Voluntary Action Harrow offices. And so in principle, I mean, there's far too much material really for anybody to want to work through. But the whole idea was, let's do this project. Let's get together programmers from around the world who are, improving their programming skills. They're doing open source, and just record everything. Let's do it completely transparently. Let's make all the meeting notes available. Let's make the videos of the meetings with the clients available. Let's make all of the source available. Almost beyond open source, there is open development, where you try and make your entire development process completely transparent. And that's how it started off. This was the sort of MVP, the minimum viable prototype. And it's, it evolved. We started talking to more people. We started putting the word out there. 5 or 10 different programmers started getting involved with us through this. We were sort of helping people get set up with remote pair programming. You can see these were the early collection of projects that we had, and it's evolved into the site that is today. Particularly Thomas Ockman from Sweden got involved and did the prototype of the site and really made it happen on this side, and he's still the technical lead on this. Yeah, and it's evolved into what it is today. And local support is one of, I think, 2 or 3 projects that we have that's been really successful in terms of meeting the needs of a charity. Let me take you to the system that we built which is now deployed and running. So although initially I had contacted Harrow Bereavement Care, ultimately I started working with a different non-profit organization in my area called Voluntary Action Harrow, and it was with them that I had it was only the first 3 or 4 meetings with Harrow Bereavement Care, and so they had this concept of building a directory of non-profit organizations in the local area, something they called Harrow Community Network, to allow people to search for voluntary organizations in their area and find out what was going on. You can see a little collection of these. You can do a search. You can see via categories. Probably not so many in that. Yeah, the couple there who are charities that mention disability in the education category, and so on. And so this system, this originally was Rails 3. We're just in the process of upgrading to Rails 4. We've had contributions from all of these people. I did a lot of the coding on this, but we've had contributions from developers all around the world on it. Particular shout outs to Johnny Moorbacker, Marianne Mosley, Michael, David Corking, Thomas Sampriti, Raphael, Juan, Pavel, Paul, Marcelo. I mean, they're important contributions, and this is kind of almost our showcase of what can be done when you connect. And so, all of the programming for this has been done remotely via Google Hangouts, via other pair programming technologies from developers all around the world, improving their skills. I think I'm not overstating it when I say that both John Moorbacher and Marianne Mosley have gone on to land, good tech jobs, partly as a result of their work on this project. It's sort of a beautiful thing from my point of view, and it's also, we continue to document. If you go into the local support, you can see I haven't transferred over all of the data from the, I transferred over some of them. I think you can actually still see there the initial emails and meetings there. But so the meetings are still going on weekly, as they have been for about 2 years now, and we are following the Agile process. Every week we present, or every 2 weeks as it's now become, we present the latest developments to the customer and get feedback on that. We've got our pivotal tracker instance that we use here. We deliver things, the customer accepts the stories. There we go, and it's all there for everyone to see. I mean, I think that we have so much data. Maybe one day we'll be able to turn it into a book or a documentary or something to kind of give the big picture of how we've managed to cope with the challenges of developers in different time zones, the code reviews, managing, making decisions. We've met in regular scrums, retrospectives, trying to keep us all on track. We use originally it was all Skype chat. Now we have we're all on Slack chat, and you can see the local support channel here with obviously pictures of fluffy animals, as is I believe legally required these days. But also I think we've got integrations with GitHub and Pivotal and so on, keeping us all kind of in the loop. Yeah, we also had some money come in, small grants, and we've managed to pay some of the developers who've worked on local support for their time. So it's almost I don't know if I'm British, and so I have trouble blowing my own trumpet. Not that I have a trumpet, but one could say it's been an unmitigated success I think we've achieved our goals. We've built a stable system that is meeting the client's needs. We've got a new volunteer framework where you can see volunteer opportunities for different organizations in the local community. I believe the client is very happy with what they have. There's still a big icebox full of other features that they'd like us to create. It seems, I think, partly because it's Rails 3, partly maybe it's not as exciting and whiz-bang as some of the other projects. We haven't had so many new developers get involved recently, and it seems to have boiled down to a core of enthusiasts who are now kind of refactoring the code base, as Michael and Marian have done, moving it to Rails 4 and so on. But I think we're all very, very happy. A big shout out, thanks of course to Ninefold, who are giving us basically a small grant to run the system and actually have proper SSL login to ensure the security of our users, which is was kind of a showstopper. So we've learned a huge amount doing this project. We're now, I continue to be the project manager. We continue to work on it. People are more than welcome, of course, to get involved. But it also serves as an example of what can be achieved with a few people with internet connections around the world. And I'm very excited to say how we now have a number of other projects. The Agile Ventures site, which is codenamed Website 1, has also all been built by contributions from volunteer developers. We have the OSRA project, which is helping Syrian orphans, is very, very active at the moment, is really running completely independently and trying out new alternatives and different things. So it's exciting to have sort of a stable of active projects that are working and meet people's needs. And we're getting to the stage now where there's new people getting involved, and we also have now as well other non-profits approaching us and saying, "Wow, that's we really love what you've done. Could you hook us up with volunteers and make it happen for us as well?" So I've got a list of about 5 or 6 non-profit projects looking for developers. I think what we're particularly looking for there are people who are interested in project management, because I think the success of these things come down to a couple of things. One is that the non-profit organization is really willing to get involved in the Agile process. And two, that the person who's kind of, at least there needs to be somebody who sort of takes the active lead on the volunteers side to say, right, I'm going to be kind of committed to this for some period. It doesn't have to be forever, but for 2 months or 3 months or what have you, and say, yeah, I'm going to arrange to meet regularly with the non-profit and make sure that that those meetings are recorded and that the vision of the customer is communicated to the developers, and just keep the ball rolling. So yes, I haven't shown much code there particularly, but I guess I'm doing sort of a high-level overview. I notice we've had Mark's also joined us. Welcome, Mark. Maybe that's been me been talking for far too long, really. Any questions or thoughts from anyone on what I've been presenting there in local support? Maybe that was all. Maybe you all knew all of that already, and in which case, my apologies. I think Rose, you're muted. Yeah, sorry, Rose, were you saying something? I think you've accidentally muted yourself again, Rose. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was trying to unmute myself, but somehow I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Sam. That was very interesting. I was interested in hearing about the history of this and how it's developed. I'm also curious about a couple of the other more active projects, as well as one that doesn't seem to have much activity right now, but sounds interesting, which is the Odin project.
Oh, yes. Indeed. I mean, yeah. I mean, so the Odin project, now that's Eric Troutman, and the Odin project sort of started separately, and we kind of pulled it in, or we gave Eric a space there. I don't know that his members ever made fantastically big use of our systems. What we at one point though, we were having a kind of a bit of a crossover between Odin project members joining our scrums and some of our Agile venture developers joining his scrums, and that was that was a nice crossover. But I think Eric kind of left the Odin project still stands as a great contribution. It's all about how to become a web project there. It's about it's like learn web development for free using online resources. So it's a lovely thing. I think Eric is now running what is an online bootcamp called Viking Code School, which I think is taking up his time. So I don't think that so much. The Odin project itself, I think, is sort of the source code is there on GitHub, and in principle anybody can contribute to it, but no one's taking a really active lead on it, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure when the last. Yeah, you can see the. There haven't. I mean, there's some more recent commits, but yeah. So that's the Odin project. I think we were never quite. I was really hoping that there would be a big synergy there. I think, Eric kind of wanted to go the business route more than the vision that we had, which was a very kind of non-business route. We really haven't made any money out of this at all.
Sure.
So yeah. That was a nice potential synergy, and there was only kind of a loose confederation there rather than an active collaboration, perhaps. But yes, I can certainly answer questions about any other of the projects and what's happening with them if you're interested.
How about Website One and Cordelia? Yeah,
so Website One, Thomas is the manager of that. He was away for 3 months in the summer, and I think Brian was the technical lead. It has been very active at times. I think just recently, so Thomas has also gone to get a high-powered tech job, and so I think has less time for really doing project management on the Website One side. I think there's a lot of people in the community who've been actively involved in Website One development. Some of them have moved into different projects over time. I mean, as you can see, we have, there are issues that took a long time to load there. Sometimes we have terrible issues with the connections with YouTube and so on. But this is, I don't do that. It's a very important project, obviously, because it supports a lot of what we do. I'm so pleased now that when people log into the websites, they're automatically added to Slack. I think that's part of the reason that we're having a few more people coming in recently. As I mentioned before, the integration with Google Hangouts has suffered some problems recently. But yeah, so I think Thomas is talking about, reassessing his level of commitment, and maybe we'll see. He's on holiday this week. He'll be back next week. We'll see if he can find space in his schedule to really, push things forward in terms of project management. But I think you know, we'll see. I mean, maybe he might want to. I think I'm not speaking out of turn in saying I think he needs to assess whether he needs to hand the reins over to someone else. But I know it's been a labor of love for him for a very long time. So
Sure.
yeah. Yeah, and you're asking about the Cordelia project, and the Cordelia project was started by Pete Butcher in Spain, and he was very, very actively involved in that. Also, so was Thomas, because there were clients for the Cordelia project in both in America and in Sweden. But Pete, in some ways, we're victims of our own success, because when people, you know, they do all this great work in Agile Ventures, and they suddenly become incredibly employable, and they get offered these great jobs, and yeah, so it sort of sucks people back out of the projects. But yeah, so I mean, I think that's a beautiful project, beautiful concept of trying to make, you know, trying to encourage young women to get involved in coding, which is ridiculously seen as you know, often seen as a sort of stereotypical male pursuit, and there's no reason for that at all, as I'm sure we'd all agree. But yeah, so that's, I think Thomas was hoping again to re-energize the Cordelia project. He's had some meetings about that, has been sidetracked by trying to manage Website 1. So I think it's in a sort of slightly dormant state at the moment, but you can see we're having trouble with Website 1 maybe being overloaded at the moment. Goodness. We'll see over there. We're going to look at those things. Gosh, application. So you can see we need people for helping us with Website 1 management. But yeah, so Cordelia, I think a bit in a sort of a dormant state there at the moment. Yeah. Any other projects that piquing your fancy?
I guess for me, those were the big ones. But you know, if you have any others you want to introduce us to, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, let me just mention our most recent project is the pair programming tool. There are some students here at Makers Academy, the boot camp that I work at in London, and that's our first Node.js project. And the idea with that is to have a system. It's a sort of assuming that you're in sort of it might be a class that you're working in or a boot camp, and it's to try and track who you've paired with to make sure that you pair promiscuously, as I encourage everyone to do. And so as you pair with people, you kind of tick them off, and there is something inspired by sort of a game layout here where you can kind of just make sure that you paired with everyone and then get recommendations for who you haven't paired with yet. So I think that's an interesting project, getting off the ground there.
Certainly would be a nice tool to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just started this GitHub API Gem Octo client project, which is kind of open source stuff that I'm spinning out of Makers Academy. Although I think that I had originally been thinking to write sort of a replacement for OctoKit because I was disliking how it worked, and also providing better testing support. I think recently I've realized I've kind of, partly through the process of writing my own version, I think I finally understood the wah of OctoKit, which is GitHub's official Ruby client for consuming their API. And I'm starting to feel like I can use that effectively. And I've also discovered that in combination with the VCR gem, which allows you to record calls to the APIs, then actually does a lot of the things that I need. But so I think in some ways the Octo client, as I originally envisaged it, is perhaps not necessary. But I'm hoping to use this as a repository for a kind of GitHub-based learning management and coordination system that I'm hoping that ultimately as I build that at Makers Academy that I can pull the useful parts out so that that's available as a general learning tool. Other things the workspace on there, Yarrow, who's a Russian based in Tenerife, he's done a lot of work on Website 1 and a lot of work on our Hangout integration. He's got this workspace on Air project, which is to try and kind of separate out the kind of Hangout integration tools that we use and make that work. I guess potentially, Thomas is actually, as it happens, on holiday in Tenerife this week, and they're meeting up to chat about it. Perhaps we'll see a re-energized project there. Yeah, and I don't think that there are. I guess just to mention that you know, we had, so the Autograders is, I'm also the project manager of, is that runs the graders for the 169 MOOC. There's, you know, that which has become sort of dormant recently. There's EduChat, which is, you know, just trying to work out ways in which to integrate chat into online classes. I think the GitHub client that we now have in the edX system is, I'm feeling, you know, looks nice, and it's sort of the best solution that I've seen so far. This time around with the MOOC, I've only popped it in here, and I'm kind of removing it from the rest of the course because I know it's controversial to have sort of instant chat. So it's here for people who are interested in using it. But I really like this. You know, this is easy integration like this.
It looks quite nice.
And it's, you know, the logins all through GitHub. I mean, I think I mean, in some ways, we're already kind of quite committed to Slack and the integration and so on. I think one of the shortcomings of Slack, what I would love to have is just that people would be able to see. I'm just so much for transparency. You know, what I would love is that you came onto the Agile Ventures homepage and potentially down here, we just had the Slack chat from the general channel just going on in here, and people could, you know, just, if they were already logged into GitHub, they could just start chatting with us on the website. I think would be, you know, I would like to just sort of like, you know, make sure that because, you know, these things like Slack, they're designed around kind of keeping things, you know, restricted to a small number of people. I want this, you know, discussion and the whole thing to be completely transparent for everybody to, you know, kind of get involved in or not, as you know, as they choose or fancy. Which reminds me that, I mean, one of the key things that is, I think, an important part of Agile Ventures is the idea that, you know, all of these scrums and the pair programming sessions, anybody should just feel free to drop in at any time. I think the way I'd really like to see the site going is so that, you know, you came to Agile Ventures and you could basically see a kind of a dashboard here of like, these are the scrums in session, and actually, you know, as you moused over, like you could see these are the pair programming sessions, and you could just sort of mouse over them and hear the action. That it was just sort of, you were kind of like in an open plan office of the world, and you could just be leaning over a series of different cubicles, so to speak, and hearing about what was going on there, and, you know, just doing it, just audio in the first instance. Oh, these guys are talking about Rails, and they're having a chat about this issue with the devise, you know, login integration, and this, that, and the other. So just to allow people to see the Agile process going on, and you know, to learn purely from just observing, to learn from reviewing the records of it, or actually getting more actively involved as and when they chose. Really, that's the whole idea, from at least from my point of view. Yeah, I think that about covers it. I mean, there's some, you know, funniest computer ever is a competition I ran to create comedy chatbots for a couple of years. That's I'd love to start that up again, but I don't have time at the moment.
That's pretty creative, I'll tell you that.
It was fun. It was fun. But yeah, any other questions about the local support project or any of the other projects or anything we do at Agile Ventures? If not, shall I open the meeting up to any other business? David, did you want to share some thoughts?
We're just going to ask if there's a local support tomorrow.
Yes, there is. There is. I haven't actually set the time yet, but yeah, I should do that after this meeting, and I'll post the time in the channel. Again, and that's all. You know, if you're in Slack, what have we been doing it? I think it will probably be at it'll be at 12 or 12:30. I'll probably push it to be at 12. I guess probably 12 noon tomorrow. So then that's the thing. Yeah, if you're interested in sitting in on a client meeting and hearing me chat with the customer and getting, you know, what her thoughts on the recent developments that we've done on local support, then everyone's more than welcome to join. So that will be probably a noon UTC tomorrow. But I'll post the time in the local support channel here. Yeah. Any other? I mean, I guess we've actually got relatively more new members than older members at the moment. If we'd had more older members, I might have been inclined to try and get set up to discuss, you know, the direction that Agile Ventures is going in I think my concern at the moment, I mean, I noticed today that the Atlantic Scrum, no, sorry, not the Atlantic Scrum, that the America Scrum didn't run. We've had, Amy has been, I think, running the America Scrum recently, and there just hasn't been so many people coming into that particular Scrum, and so I think she's maybe said, right, well, it seems like people don't particularly want the America Scrum. I guess I feel like we need to, we have a lot of Scrums. We have this separate Osra Scrum, which the Osra folks are very keen on their separate Scrum. I would love to, and then I say to you, it's focused very much on Osra, and it's specifically for Osra. I think it's a shame because, you know, if the Osra and America Scrum were merged, then, you know, people would, I don't know. The way that we originally started is that all the Scrums were sort of open for all the different projects, and it was only recently that, you know, Osra said, right, let's have this specifically focused Scrum, which, I mean, of course, is entirely, you know, we're not prescriptive in Agile Ventures. I think it's up to individual groups to work out what works best for them. But I think all of the projects need, you know, kind of an influx of new people, and I think it's difficult, as we've had a little bit of a downturn recently, where, you know, to support multiple different Scrums. Anyway, at the end of the day, you know, whether you're having an Osra Scrum or you're having an Osra weekly meeting, I had originally assumed that it was more of an Osra weekly meeting. I think it's great that they have enough energy in that and motivation, commitment in that group to have a daily Scrum that's focused specifically on Osra. But I'd love them to be doing, you know, it seems if we have both the Osra Scrum and the America Scrum, and if Amy and one other are turning up to the America Scrum and not, you know, it seems like we're dividing our resources. If everybody would just go to the one, like, you know, the one Scrum, then that would make more sense to me. But yeah, Mark and Gilham have left us. I hope they heard some interesting stuff. Yes, it's a shame. I maybe should have immediately just picked on them and said, you know, any thoughts about what we can, you know, about how they found Agile Ventures and so on. Pravina, any thoughts?
Quite a few, actually. I think it's a really, really interesting project, and I find it a little bit sad that it's not doing well, or that, like you say, there is a split in the groups and things like that. As a new member, because you did say that there are more new members than old members at the moment, where's a good place for new members to jump in and get involved?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, really. It's sort of, you know, wherever you can connect, really. We've got, as I say, you know, the Slack here. I mean, the thing to do really is, what I usually recommend to people is to say, hang out on the channels of the projects that you're interested in. Try and join meetings specific to those projects, and just start chatting with the developers. I mean, I think that the difficulty that we have, you know, in the volunteer organization, for example, someone trying to get involved in Website 1 right now, is that this week Thomas is away. I think it's difficult to kind of get coordinated and find out what one might work on. Whereas, I mean, you know, I guess I think one of the challenges that we have, what would be useful for people is to know which Scrums should be the ones that they should turn up to in order to find out this and that. Basically, I run the Euro-Asia and Atlantic Scrums Monday to Friday. So if you're interested in the local support project or the Autograders project, or just chatting with me, then those are good times to find me. And you know, connect people up with tasks. I mean, with other people on the local support team, and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, we've got a little bit of a, you know, there's a collection of different projects are to a certain extent in sort of competition for new members. So we've got new members come in, and, you know, Website 1, Osra, and local support could all use new members. And so we're in a sort of friendly competition for, you know, people getting involved in those things. And yeah, you know, it's sort of, but I think it sort of I like it that way, in the idea that really this is all about people working on things that pique their interest. If the challenges of that particular project are of interest to a particular person, then that's the one that they should get involved in. Does that answer your question at all? Does that help?
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah. I'm berating myself now. I should have probably spoken to Mark and Gilherm before that, or got more. And we had a nice feedback there from Guilherme saying that he was sort of positive feedback on the local support project that he mentioned in the chat. But yes, no, that's what we're all about, is about allowing people to sort of pop in and just sort of view and see what's going on, and stay or not as interests them. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Mark was one of the people in the group.
Yeah, Mark Stepniewski.
He's one of my students.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I'll be talking to him in class.
Great. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, Guilherme from Brazil. I mean, I guess the real question is, for me, is, we originally we only used to have one hangout a week when we started, and there was like 5 people involved, and that was, we kind of, and then we had this sort of explosion of people, and we moved to having, these large numbers of scrums to sort of manage coordinating everyone, and also there was this sort of vision of like, it'll only ever be 3 or 4 hours till the next scrum, so you can always just drop in and find out what's going on, and it'll just always be there. I think that model still seems valid to me, but there's a couple of problems. Like, one is the difficulty with which people sometimes have in getting into the scrums, which I think is partly a function of issues we have in the user experience of the website, and Google changing their API and this and the other. Another one is that people are perhaps intimidated to come into a hangout with strangers. Some people have suggested maybe we should be doing text-only scrums or things like that. But the big question now is, how given that there still is a lot of energy, I think, in the community and people interested to try things and so on, is what's the direction to push in now? Should we be trying to refactor the user experience of Website 1? Is that the critical thing? Or should we be trying out some radical new alternative, like text-based scrums, or some other kind of scheduling system that allows people to catch up when it's relevant for them, rather than waiting 2 or 3 hours for the next scrum? I'm not sure, and I think that probably the community will thrive or wither, partly as a function of the direction that we push in, and that direction, I think, needs to be decided by the people who are interested in seeing the community grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts at all about which direction we should be going in, or what would serve the community best. I'm
kind of sad that the America Scrum isn't coming off that well. I know that the timing just happens to be at sort of one of the busiest times of the day for me, which is why I keep on wanting to make it, and I keep on not being able to make it. There's another scrum that's just smack in the middle of my teaching schedule.
Yeah.
And I would love to participate more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the times of the scrums can be moved. I mean, I think that the America's Scrum, the time that it's at, used to be a very convenient time for Pavel, and Pavel used to be the one who ran the America's Scrum.
Right.
And he now doesn't run the America's Scrum, and he runs the Austria Scrum. And
sure.
That's, I think, it's kind of a loss for us as Agile Ventures, to the extent that, I don't know, I mean, maybe the sensible thing to do just now is to just cancel the America's Scrum, since that doesn't seem to be at a particularly convenient time for anyone, and just have the Austria Scrum. I guess I feel like I want to ask permission from the Austria folks. Can we just call the Austria Scrum the America Scrum, just to kind of, because it's completely unfounded. I guess I worry that it being called the Austria Scrum puts off people who are not interested in the Austria project from attending, if you know what I mean. And
well, at the same time, though, what would be the point of people attending if they're not interested in that project, since it is really solely going to be taken up with that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I guess what I would be saying to the Austria folk when I catch up with them, and maybe I will be able to drop into their Scrum, which I think is in an hour from now, is, I know that you guys have a really focused Austria thing, and I don't know if they always spend 15 minutes on it. I would say, given, that this project kind of got its start from Agile Ventures. I mean, we've had discussions. I think Nick has questioned what value does OSRA particularly derive from the Agile Ventures framework. I think his position is, well, we're using Google Hangouts, we're using chat, but we could be doing that. We don't need they're using Jira or Pivotal Tracker. There's not, in terms of the ongoing running of the project, they're not deriving particular value from Agile Ventures. However, I would say, I would counter, I think the project started and the people are in touch with each other because we had Agile Ventures. Like that was, of course, that's not a reason to say that they should always be paying lip service or funds or something to Agile Ventures.
Right.
But I think, the longevity of the project, the key thing that Agile Ventures provides to all of the projects that are involved in Agile Ventures is potential more interest. It's about hooking up with other developers who might.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And recently in OSRA, there's, I think Brian has now started to get involved. And no, of course, there's no reason. It's not the case that OSRA couldn't attract members through other means. It's entirely possible. But I guess I think in Local Support, Website One, OSRA, the Workspace on Air, all of them. And it looks like Amy's running the America Pacific Scrum now. Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Goodness me. Right.
Yeah, and I'm about in like 5 minutes. I have to leave for class.
Sure. We are still running weekly meeting. I thought that the America Scrum was supposed to be at 6. I think there's been a confusion about time things. So maybe we can see.
Yeah. Sam, I just want to interject for a second here. It's interesting you were saying about, first it was, very few scrums, and now you wonder if it's almost too many.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. If you had more scrums, I would insist that, for instance, our class spent every class period in a scrum.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
go on. No, sure. But for example, I mean, if you told me a time that the American Scrum should be, that it would work for all of you guys, then it could happen at that time.
And again, I like for us, something like 5 o'clock would be ideal.
Yeah,
let's
work out that time. Let's work out that time and do it then and make it happen, because I think that's what we need. Just to finish up what I was saying before, is just like so. I think for the OSRA people, I know that they love their OSRA focused Scrum, and maybe I'll talk about this more later on today. But it would, to the extent that they are keen to get more people coming in through the Agile Ventures channel, then it would be lovely if they would, for example, reserve 5 minutes at the end of their Scrum, perhaps call their Scrum. Because the point is that the contents of the Scrum, it seems to me, are largely a function of who attends. So if it's at that time of the day and they've got 3, OSRA people, then they can say, right, look, this is our thing. We're going to do we're going to do our 10 or 15 minutes at the start, and then, but like, kind of reach out a bit. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm going to come across as when we had this discussion before, it seemed there was a lot of resistance to my suggestion of trying to merge the scrums. And fair enough. I think if they've got their workflow and we don't want to screw that one up, but I think I want to make it so that they can receive, there can be a synergy. That they potentially receive more incoming people as a result, and we also have a point at which, a meeting place, a water cooler.
Well, if they have a meeting every day, and they are very committed, right? What if they were to reserve, do business, agree to do business at a certain time, and then have an open section at a particular time, and it might only be 5 or 10 minutes, but that way they could do their work, but then have a way to recruit more people.
Absolutely, and I think I'll try and get on with them tonight and suggest that to them. And see how it goes. Greetings to Amy. Amy, great to see you. How are you doing?
Hi.
I'm all right. Which meeting is this?
So this is the Agile Ventures weekly meeting.
Yeah, and I have to go.
All right, bye,
Sorry.
Rose, Amy, Rose, but bye, Rose. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I got to get to class.
Have fun.
Bye.
We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, we'll work out a better time for a scrum for you. Let's 5
Okay.
p.m. Eastern time. You were saying.
Yeah, be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Let
Bye.
me work out what time that is. Amy, let me introduce you to Pravina. Pravina, this is
Hi.
Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Pravina.
Pravina she's taking the edX MOOC. That's the software engineering online class. And
Cool.
she's based in South Africa. And now, Amy, I think you're based on the west coast of the US?
Yes, San Francisco.
Yeah, wonderful town. And yes, and Amy's been with us recently trying to work out that magical mix of how to get new people onboarded and excited and so on and so forth. Yeah, indeed. But so, Amy, yes, I think there seems to be some confusion. I had been asking people earlier in the week what the best time for this meeting was. Of course, we've had all of the time changes that have gone on, and that's been, as always it is, twice a year, very confusing for us. We go and look at the America. So the Americas Scrum and pair hookup is currently sort of set in here to be at this 6 p.m. UTC time. And I was assuming that was the time that if the America Scrum happened, that it would be started. But so if we look for the weekly meeting, so the Agile Ventures weekly meeting has been set for 6:15 p.m. UTC, designed to start kind of immediately after the America Scrum.
Yes. And is this the Agile Ventures weekly meeting? Yes.
So this is we've been having for the last 53 minutes the Agile Ventures weekly meeting.
Gotcha. Okay, so we just had our time change too, and before the time change, it was at this same time. This is 11 o'clock for me. It used to be 11 o'clock for me.
Yes.
And I used to come in at the beginning.
Yes.
So the times have slipped, and I'm an hour later.
Yes, I think what it is that for some reason, and only somebody knows why. I don't know who knows why. The times at which the clocks change in different parts of the world are different, and so we have this funny thing where like we fall back first, and so there's one thing, and then it happens to you guys in different parts of America, maybe even then at different times. I'm not sure, but yes. So I think hopefully going forward, we won't have quite the same problem again, at least until spring, when we'll have exactly the same problem again. But yes.
Okay.
I think that's what's happened.
That would explain why the meeting keeps not happening. I keep showing up for the meeting and then there's no meeting. So
I think that's one.
I've probably been missing it. I think the time moved.
Yes, I think it's one of contributing factors. I think this time of year, in late October, early November, and then similarly, I think is it end of March or April, I don't know. That is something that plagues us, and we've had that, a couple of seasons in a row. Partly now, at least in the site, it's supposed to list the times both in UTC and in the person's type. And we've tried to implement things to kind of make that clearer, but it always seems to cause confusion. I think we've also had trouble in that the Google API has changed, and so now when you start a Hangout on Air from the site, although you can still do it, there's a lot more buttons clicking, and the Hangout link does not automatically update. You have to do it manually now, and we're working on, we've been trying to looking at that. There doesn't seem to be a simple fix. It's kind of frustrating because it was, in some ways, relatively smooth previously. Yes, and then I think there's also, there's the ongoing fluctuations in number of people being available at different times. So yes, I think many factors contributing to. I saw your comment in Slack about there not having been many people at the American Scrums in the last few weeks.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you're well otherwise?
Yeah, I'm just lost. I mean, I haven't seen my team for almost a month.
Yes, that's the website one team.
Well, that and also the Agile Ventures team. I haven't been. I thought the meetings had not happened. I thought they'd stopped happening.
Yeah. Oh,
I
well,
lost track of everyone.
Sure, sure. Well, and I think we're we're in this exciting socio-cultural technical thing, and I think if we can kind of work it all out in the end, it'll be a miracle, and the human race will be improved for it. But yes, I mean, I think we've had several. But also, my schedule changed, so I haven't run a weekly meeting for it's 3 weeks since the last time I did it. So I'm in a position to do it every 2 weeks, and but then there was a sort of a 1 week slippage. So there was 2 previous weeks where I think it just sort of didn't happen. Also, Thomas has gone on holiday this week. I mean, something. It feels to me it's like we kind of need, like in the ideal world, if we were able to magically just change the website to make it work the way we wanted, there would be, for all of our different scrums and events and so on, there'd be kind of a person who was, and we'd have, they'd have a little icon of saying, this is the person who's this event. And that person would need to, kind of in advance, they would say, I'm doing this, I'm doing these ones, and if they know that they can't make it or what have you, they would be able to quickly signal that through. They could say, oh, I know. I mean, people sort of do it through Slack, but so that when people I don't know, it's a fantastically interesting HCI, human-computer interface problem of coordinating all of us so we know when we can be online, when's the right time to talk, and so on, and doing it without having 150 emails go back and forth. I think one of the regular time changes aside, just making things completely regular so people get used to them being at certain times is very important for that. And so maybe we've had a number of new people come in from the MOOC and from some associated classes, which is re-energizing us and exciting us. It's great to see Pravina again. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Yeah. So the events I've noticed, they belong to a person, right? You can't just go in and edit an event that you didn't create, or can you?
Not? I think I seem to be able to edit.
Oh yeah.
All of the events that I've tried to but then I may have special permissions in the site. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say is, so we've just had the meeting. I gave an overview of the local support project, which you might be interested to watch. The recording of this should be available afterwards, so I'll try and make sure that you get the link of that, and that link should become available on my YouTube account, which also should get pulled into the videos thing here. So you can see the video I did with the Autograders people earlier on. Hopefully, after this meeting is finished, that video link will be available there. If I remember, I'll ping it to you. But we were also kind of getting into discussing, scrums and the future of Agile Ventures and sort of how we can continue to help the community maintain critical mass and and grow. Have you been having any thoughts about that over the last few weeks in your isolation from the rest of us?
Yeah. If there was a meeting once a week for people to, basically like a newbie meeting. Although I started a newbie meeting and nobody came. So, but like an orientation, like if there were scheduled orientations, like are you lost? Are you looking for something? What do you do? The various projects should, they have a team captain, and you can see that when you go to the project, and you should be able to reach out to the team captain. It would be useful to. We have a ticket system for our development work, but we don't have a ticket system for our community work. And there are lots of little things that need to be done, like hosting individual scrums. The scrums will happen if somebody is there to host them, but not if somebody isn't there to host them. You know, like for example, the last time I was in an Agile Ventures meeting a month ago, I said, oh, I'll take the Pacific Scrum Tuesday through Thursday for 3 weeks. And 3 weeks has ended, you know, like last last week, and then, you know, so for the first time yesterday I didn't do the Pacific Scrum, and Rose was all like, why is there no Pacific Scrum? And I'm like, nobody ever comes, okay, but it wouldn't have mattered because I was doing the Pacific Scrum an hour late anyway, because I didn't realize that.
Well, I think you probably would.
Time for it.
Well, I think that probably happened not for the entire 3 weeks that you did it, but it kind of, at some point those things would have come in and out and just been, they would have been flummoxing factors, shall we say. So it was an unfortunate 3 weeks to be doing it during variety of time changes. I mean, I think it is also the case that it used, like the America Scrum, the time that it was at was set for certain people who were more involved in Agile Ventures in the past, and some of them have migrated. Like, I think their time schedules have evolved and so on, and it's looking like at the moment that the America Scrum, whether it's at 6 p.m. UTC or 7 p.m. UTC, is not particularly useful time for, you know, a significant number of people. And it seems to me that there's options, like one is potentially seeing if the OSRA people would be interested in allowing there to be an American Scrum segment in their OSRA Scrum. Maybe, who knows what they would say to that. The thing that Rose was just suggesting is that the time that would work particularly well for her is 5 p.m. Eastern Time, which corresponds to 10 p.m. UTC. And she's saying that if there was a Scrum at that time, she would basically require all of her students in her class in SUNY Binghamton University to just be in that Scrum, which would be great. So I mean, I would just off the back of that, actually, I mean, rather than bothering the OSRA folk, I'd say, ooh, why don't we have an America Scrum at that time, just to because Rose is in here and is active, and you know, a lot of her students have come into meetings over the course of the last week. You know, we need to move the scrums to the times that make sense for the people who are currently active. Do you know what I mean?
Perhaps someone in that team could take ownership of the Scrum.
Yes, well, that's true, and I think Rose could be doing it. I mean, I think the other thing about the Scrums, though, is, I guess, like from my point of view, in the ideal world, we wouldn't necessarily need a person taking strong ownership of the Scrum. In almost what I would love to see is just that the Scrums would correspond to kind of rooms, and so it wouldn't be the case that people would kind of like come and hang out on the site or on Slack at a particular time, waiting for someone to press the button and do this and the other. That it would be more like, you know, these conference calls where you dial in and you don't have to wait for an administrator, but you arrive and you're there in the space. Like if people have arranged, you know, the meeting time, you know, like imagine that you've got an environment which is like an office, you know, for a company, and you've got 10 different meeting rooms, and you just say, okay, you know, at I don't know, 9 a.m. and noon and 5 p.m. we're just gonna, whoever wants to meet up and sort of sync, come to meeting room A. And so, you know, ideally, I think we would kind of remove the requirement for an active lead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that would be great.
I mean, go on.
Right now, you need a human being to push the button, right?
Right, and I think, you know, it would almost be, maybe there's a radical redesign that we can do of this system. Goodness me, we've got like an extra, you know, there's the OSRA Scrum, is, you know, it should, if we could change this so that rather than saying the event host will start the Hangout and what have you, it would just say,
join it.
Just join. It's like enter. It would just be enter. The one challenge that we have with that, and this is maybe related to Google Hangouts, is that the person who then starts it then sort of potentially has special privileges in terms of the Hangout. Like I have a control room panel here, which allows me to adjust all of your volumes and mute you and so on as a result of having started the Scrum or starting the Hangouts. And then also I'm recording it to my YouTube channel, again, because I've started it. If a totally new person, particularly who isn't linked to YouTube, starts it, they'll get some subset of these features, and we may end up without a recording. Not that that's necessarily the end of the world, but I think what we want...
We have a robot account. You know, we have a virtual machine somewhere with a robot account that scripts all this. It starts it, you know, and if somebody needs the function of recording or manning the controls or whatever, they can log into this virtual space.
Yes. That's, I mean, it's a good idea, and if we could make that work with the Google framework with sort of a headless startup and so on, that would be fantastic. I think that would be ideal. Rose mentioned today a new system called Zoom, which apparently is an alternative to Google Hangouts.
Zoom with a X?
With a Z. I've just brought the page up there. I mean, the difficult thing in some ways is that we've ended up kind of getting quite crystallized into, you know, the use of Google Hangouts. It's but it feels like, you know, there is something that's not quite working correctly at the moment, and I don't know, with a little bit of you know, lateral thinking and UX sorting out, we could maybe adjust it. I think the particular problem, I mean, like, I think Rose in principle could run that Scrum. The problem is then, I think, well, at the moment you still almost need training and someone holding your hand in order to kind of. I think we've got people such as David and Amy, yourself, and Pavel and myself, and there's sort of a handful of people who what's going on and can sort of, you know, start up a Scrum and make sure all the links point to the right place and this and the other. But it's it would be. I think it would be nice to be kind of brainstorming, rather than worrying about making incremental changes to our existing system, brainstorming a system that would really work for the current people using Agile Ventures, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I mean, would you be? I mean, Amy, would you be? Yeah. Is that time at 5 p.m. Eastern, which can we work out what time that is for you?
It's 2 p.m. my time.
Is that? Would you be interested? I'm not even running a Scrum, but being around to perhaps help Rose start a Scrum on some of those occasions.
Yeah, I could. I mean, I could at least do it for a while. I mean, it seems like, you know, it's her and her class, and you know, there wouldn't really be room for me. I'd be at quite. I've been on teams where some of the team was co-located, and some of the team was distant, and it's very difficult for the distant person to integrate with that team.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm thinking. I mean, I think what Rose is hoping is not that her students are collaborating with each other so much through Agile Ventures. She's hoping that they individually will get involved in projects like OSRA and Website One and local support and so on. So, you know, for example, for you to get a pair partner on Website One, if you were, you know, just even present at that time, that, you know, it's a sort of a source of people, so to speak. But
right, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've had difficulty connecting with people, and the reason why I didn't realize that the meetings were still happening, they were just happening an hour earlier, is because I didn't have any strong enough social ties.
Right.
Because otherwise somebody would have told me. That's how you usually find out, you know, through your friends.
Yeah, although, I mean, like, it's interesting. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I guess, do you have Slack on your phone?
No, I don't use it on my phone.
No, I mean, me neither. I mean, ideally, I mean, partly for me, I have Slack running on my computer in the background, and I just see, okay, you know, I always kind of know when things are going on because these things have happened here. Anyway, I mean, it's yeah.
Oh, also incidentally, how I said that some of the America Scrums had expired. I just looked at the events, and it turned out that somehow the Monday and Tuesdays had come unchecked. So that was what was wrong. It's
I
fixed now.
see. Yeah. There's
Now, was during the weekly meeting that I missed, was it discussed the results of the form so that people could pick up
no.
projects?
We haven't looked at that. I mentioned that, but we had kind of a selection of relatively new people, and yeah. I mean, I think I had been thinking of trying to get together some sort of event and so on. We could look at that. I mean, I should probably wrap up in about 5 minutes. We could look at that. I wonder, David and Pravina, do you have any other thoughts or questions or queries at all?
Nothing from my side that I can think of.
Nothing from me right now either.
Yeah, okay, good show. Yeah, well, maybe we could just finish up. Yeah, Amy, I'm hoping that you have access to view that list of non-profits now.
I do.
Working
Yes.
furiously to share it with you. Yes, okay. And we could even bring, I think I've got it here. Yes, so this is it. We've got, I believe, 5 non-profits here who have filled out the form for us. And I believe both, I mean, David and Pravina, you're more than welcome to look through the different, we've basically got this form where the people can sign up, excuse me, to, that's the live form actually if you want to. I've got a bit.ly hyperlink for it somewhere. But it sort of tries to explain that we can't really guarantee that we'll, be able to make anything work. But if you're interested in trying to connect with Agile developers, Agile venturers, then do that. So we've got, I think these are mainly London-based at the moment because I was emailing to some my mailing list. But please do feel free to distribute this link, this form to other organizations in your own areas. One of the things I had meant to mention to you as I was reviewing the whole local support project in the meeting earlier was that I had originally assumed that we would kind of, I was encouraging people to sort of canvass their local areas to find non-profits. But I think what happened was I was the only person who ended up getting a positive response from my local non-profit, and then so local support happened, and all of the people got involved with that one project, and we just sort of started with that one project rather than having multiple teams on multiple groups as we have now. But so this is in some ways getting back to our original basics. But yeah, I'm currently kind of wrapping my head around, can we have some kind of meeting where we get these organizations online so they can present to online developers about these are the things they're interested in, having kind of like a mixer where we mix developers interested in working on these things with the the people themselves.
Well, in the simplest form, I mean, Pivotal Tracker lets you input and import and export sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of these rows could be a ticket. And then when the ticket was claimed, the URL of the Agile Ventures project would go in there. So you'd move from the ticket to the Agile Ventures site like we already have.
Sure. Well, I mean, I would say, I mean, this to go back to your earlier point there. Like, we've got the Agile Ventures Community Project. Amy, please create a Pivotal Tracker instance. You can link it up here, and it can have, there's a space here for the Pivotal Tracker link to go, and that'll be there, and that'll be the thing that we'll be using to manage the jobs that need to be done in the community.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
And there it is. Yeah. Thanks. So that was Gilherm. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got a new member. Any questions? So I think I'm sort of losing my voice. It's been great chatting with you guys. Feel free to carry on talking. I don't know how much time other people have. Yeah, I mean, I need to do like an email for the MOOC and other bits and pieces. Anything else that we need to address before we wrap up?
Thank you for staying so long.
Not at all. I guess I'll say, I mean, for me, I'm back to my 2-week cycle, so I would, be able to host this meeting again in 2 weeks. I'm hoping. I have been speaking to Nick from Ostra about him, or some of the, I think they're hoping to get, they're going to do a production release of Ostra, and they would then, like to maybe present what they've done to us, which I think would be a fascinating thing to have. I guess in the ideal world, we would find someone who was going to kind of take the lead on, presenting some theme for the weekly meeting next week. Although, maybe fortnightly makes more sense. But yeah, I guess we'll sort of leave it open there. I think we've got some. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we talk about things that we do before next time, I think, yeah, this, as I say, this. If we can somehow sketch a user interface which is more like this. It's just a meeting room that you can show up in, and then if there's enough people there, a meeting just happens. Maybe I need to try out the Zoom system. And but yeah, Amy, if you go ahead and create a pivotal tracker for the Agile events community, I think that will be very helpful.
Yeah, I'll do that today.
Great. And I guess we still have the question about whether the Pacific Scrum should be moved to the time that, I mean, we could just make that decision now, in fact, Amy, maybe we should be radical. I mean, if people are not, that Pacific Rim one, if people are not using the America Scrum at the moment, and I'm not aware of them using it, I mean, I guess we can look at the Slack thing for the last few days, and we can see there's Atlantic Scrum, Euro Scrum, Eurasia Scrum, I just don't see America Scrum being run, which sort of implies that, I mean, we could take the radical step here of just saying, well, let's make the America Scrum at 10 p.m. UTC that, meets, I wonder if they want to run it on weekends. I don't know.
Pavel will need to be told. Apparently he's still doing Mondays and weekends.
Okay. Well, I mean, and I think he won't be able to make that time. Well, maybe the way to go is, since maybe we'll leave America Scrum there. Maybe the more radical thing is to move the Pacific Scrum to, I don't think this ever runs. I think that very occasionally, maybe we could move this to be 10 p.m. because this is really never kind of, well, I don't know why that's got on 45 there. And see if Rose wants to take over the Pacific Rim Scrum, and see if that works for her. There you go. David and Pravina, are there any things that you think you want to do before over the next couple of weeks as regards Agile Ventures?
Nothing specific yet, but I'm hoping to find a project that I can maybe jump in on and just have a look and see what it's all about and how it works and things like that. So.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't think of any community-oriented tasks I should be taking on. Yeah, I've got some food for thought now.
Yeah, good show.
Yeah. Thanks. So I'll make a pivotal tracker for the Agile Ventures community, and I'll reach out to Pavel and I'll talk to him about the America Scrum.
Yes, excellent. And yeah, I mean, I'm just letting Rose know here that I've moved the Pacific Scrum to her time, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye for now. Take care. See you soon.
Bye for now. Take care.
Bye.